Okay, I think I'm here. I think my screen is recording. Okay, it says it's recording. I cannot see it from the screen that I am currently on. But, thank you for tuning in and welcome. At the time, I did not actually own a professional uniform. I am not home. But I did have my lab equipment, and I realized that biologists have their own lab equipment, so I figured I'd wear that. And then you can also see my makeshift laboratory here with the things I put up. Um, I'm pretty sure this is recording the screen. We're going to find out. Let's go back. So, this is typhus fever that I've done my thing on, which is commonly associated with typhoid fever, which is really weird because they're two different things. It was really weird. Anyway, my name is Wright. Let's get this thing going. So, here is something to note, is that there are actually three types of typhus. There's epidemic typhus, which was discovered by Dr. Henrique da Roca Lima in 1916, and I'm sorry, Henrique, but I've probably said that wrong. And that's a picture of him in the top right. And then there was scrub typhus, which was discovered in a laboratory in Japan in 1930. I couldn't actually get any names of the people that were there, so it was just a laboratory in Japan. And then there was murine typhus, which I'm not covering in this video, but it was discovered by Dr. Hermann Musser, Dr. Maximiliano Ruiz Castaneda, and I'm sorry I've said that wrong, and Dr. Hans Zinzer. I've probably also said that wrong. But credit to these three people for murine typhus. It's a shame I couldn't cover it in this video. So let's start off with epidemic typhus. Epidemic typhus is caused by infected lice, which are infected with Rickettsia prowazekii. They're found most commonly in crowded areas, as with most lice. They jump from head to head. There's a rare version called sylvatic typhus, which was caused by being in proximity to flying squirrels in their nests. I didn't have much time to look into that, but it absolutely was fascinating. So here's the symptoms of epidemic typhus, and they were taken straight from the CDC. There's fevers and chills, which pretty much everybody I think is familiar with. There's headache. There's rapid breathing. There's the body and muscle aches. There's the rash, the cough, nausea, and vomiting. And as you can probably see here, and I'm going to get to this in a second, these symptoms are incredibly common amongst a lot of different other diseases. And when we get to the incident that I'm going to be talking about, that's really going to start coming into play. So let's go into treatment of epidemic typhus. It's treated by antibiotic doxycycline, which is right there. There isn't a vaccine for it. I'm pretty sure it's not considered that lethal to actually have a vaccine, so none just doesn't exist. And then alternatively, the way that you can actually prevent yourself from catching epidemic typhus is just staying away from crowded areas and not getting into contact with lice. And then now we have the second kind. This kind is known as bush typhus, or scrub typhus, and it's caused by the bacteria Orientia susugamushi. It's spread through the bites of infected mites, which are known as chiggers, and they're typically found in Asia and also Australia, which was interesting to note. And then the symptoms from scrub typhus are actually incredibly similar to the symptoms of epidemic typhus, except for one thing: coma. We'll end that in the dark scab region where the mite bit you. But coma, that's apparently a really rare symptom of scrub typhus. Wasn't aware of that. That's something that you should be aware of. But yeah, as you can see, all of the same symptoms as epidemic typhus. And then treatment of scrub typhus functions very similarly to epidemic. You want to use antibiotic doxycycline, and then you want to avoid contact with infected mites. And then whenever you go into an infected area, like we'll get into in a second, you want to avoid the dense vegetation where the mites could be living and could be, getting onto your skin or your hair or your body, and they'll bite you. Ugh. And then you can treat your clothes with a 0.5% permethrin. And then lastly, you want to use approved insect repellent. So let's get into the incident here. A 7.8 earthquake hit Nepal on April 25th of 2015. It turns out that the main disease that ended up happening there immediately afterwards, as everybody was in, poor sanitation, poor living conditions, which are pretty much magnified to be even worse with the earthquake, it wreaked havoc amongst the people. Dozens of deaths, tons of people infected. and it was a nightmare. And so initially when they were testing, they were misdiagnosing everything, just making it worse. They were initially believing the symptoms to be, a result of malaria and typhoid fever, but most of it was actually as a result of scrub typhus. And as you could see from symptoms, they have very similar symptoms to a lot of other stuff, and that's what kind of makes it very difficult. In fact, that's why it wasn't even discovered that to be, their own strands in 1930, 1918, and 1916, 1930. And that bottom one's supposed to say 1920, I believe. And so, that's basically it for that. And here's my bibliography. That's a little case in point for Typhus. I hope you enjoyed. It's been a very long time since I've had to do a presentation, and I'm glad you've given me the honor. Have a good evening, everybody.